So welcome everyone. Welcome to Root Source Health and Wellness, your partner in integrative health, incorporating mind, body, soul, and spirit. We discuss how a new paradigm of health awareness is evolving to include the whole person model. I'm Tracy Palmatier, founder of Root Source Health and Wellness, nutrition expert, registered and licensed dietitian, alpha gal food allergy expert, herbal enthusiast, gardener, artist, and energy worker. As a dietitian, I educate my community on nutrition as well as shed a light on the field of nutrition and being an entrepreneur within the field. So today I have with me Carol Zackman, who is a registered nurse and energy worker. She has a very unique story that I think is just incredible, and I can't wait to hear her story today. So Carol, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Looking
So
forward to it.
like I said, you have such a unique story. I thought we could talk a little bit today about your experience and your expertise and some of the energy work that you do.
Sure.
So to get started, let's talk a little bit about how you became interested in nursing and health.
That's funny that you asked that because initially I had taken a job as a volunteer at the local hospital when I was a teenager because I wanted to be a lab technician. And I was working in the lab, and this was pre-computers, so we had to hand deliver all the lab results. So I had to go from unit to unit, bringing all the lab results in the afternoon.
Wow.
After I got a certain amount of hours under my belt, they told me I was eligible to take the what they call the Samaritan program, and that essentially was a volunteer nurse's aide. Well, from the first minute of that class, I knew I wanted to be a nurse. There was no doubt in my mind. It was just the strangest thing. So I went through that and then progressed where I guess I had enough hours and met enough people that I could have recommendations and was able to get into nursing school, college. Yes. So I went from there. Yep.
So was there any other sparks you feel like that led you to nursing or the health field in general?
Um, I know I was always playing with dolls and making believe that they were sick and taking care of them and that kind of thing. But I was always intrigued by science with playing with microscopes in school. So that's how I thought I wanted to be a lab tech
Gotcha.
until I actually got my hands on actual patients. And that's when I knew, no, wrong field.
So you went through nursing school, and what was the job that you started with after nursing school?
I started in the neonatal ICU. I worked from there for 13 years and then got my master's degree and became a nurse practitioner. By then, I was working in a community hospital, so it was a level 2 hospital. I got a little burnt out on the level 3. Plus, I had my children at that point, so I was pretty busy.
Right.
So I worked in the neonatal ICU for a total of 27 years.
Wow.
Then switched over to a women's health nurse practitioner. So I was doing obstetrics and gynecology, and that was the best job I ever had. I was in
Right.
a really nice practice, and I really enjoyed that. And from there, my ex-husband had retired from his job, so we moved down to Florida, but I couldn't bring the nurse practitioner license with me. So I continued to work as an RN, and I was doing pre-surgical testing. So that was similar to working as a nurse practitioner, where I was taking in people's health history and doing some teaching and that kind of thing. So I
Right.
enjoyed that. So I did that up until a year and a half ago when I retired from nursing.
Okay. So in the meantime, were you also dabbling with energy work, or was that
Oh,
kind
yes.
of sudden?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Back in the 90s, I when I would get my cycle every month, my breasts were very tender. I didn't even know I was doing energy work because I would just put my hands on them and pull the pain out and hand it up to God and the angels, and it would work. It would take the pain away. I would also, I guess that's when I started my spiritual journey. I would go into bookstores and I'd go either to the self-help or the spiritual books, and I'd use my non-dominant hand. Okay, God, which book am I supposed to read? And I would feel which book I needed to read. And that's how I found the Reiki manual.
Uh-huh.
So in the back, there was a website. So I went to the website, found a practitioner, and experienced Reiki for the first time. Then I signed up for a newsletter that they had in the back of the book. So received that and found that there was an instructor who was teaching not far from my home. It was a long weekend class, and I proceeded to take the class, and I was hooked from that moment on.
So it
Took
was
the
like an
class in,
introduction.
yes, yes. Took the class in March, and that December I took the master class. So I became a teacher at that point.
Fantastic. So I know, just because I know you, that you incorporated the Reiki into the hospital where you worked.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can you can you talk a little bit about that and how you did that?
Yes, when I was in the neonatal ICU, one of my jobs was to go to the delivery room. And being a nurse practitioner, I was the one that would resuscitate the babies if needed. So as soon as the baby was born and they clamp and cut the cord, they'd put the baby in my hands. I'd take it over to the warmer and I'd dry it off and assess it, and if it needed resuscitation or whatever. And as soon as the babies were put in my hands, I turned on my Reiki hands, and most of the babies recognize the energy. It's quite amazing.
Wow.
Look you right in the eye. Yes. There was one in particular that the baby was born from a mom who was trying to have a C-section. No, trying to have a vaginal birth after she had a C-section. So they call that a VBAC. Well, the uterus ruptured and the baby was floating in the abdomen, and so was the placenta. So the baby was what they call anoxic, without oxygen, for a couple of minutes while they did an emergency C-section and got the baby out. They needed to resuscitate the baby. The baby was on a ventilator for a while, needed blood transfusions, the whole bit. Mom did okay. But then as the baby was healing, we could not get this poor child to suck on a bottle.
Mm.
So we were thinking that there was some kind of damage. So this mother, it's funny when the parents are stressed, the different things that they bring in to put in the baby's isolettes. It's quite intriguing. This mom was bringing in water from Lourdes, mud from Macedonia, all kinds of prayer cards and all kinds of neat things. So I said, she's the one that I could approach and explain what Reiki was. So I approached her one day. It was about an hour before the baby was due to eat. And we were tube feeding the baby. We would give the mom a certain amount of time, like 5 minutes, to try and feed the baby. And then we would feed it through the tube if it didn't work. So I approached her, explained about Reiki, explained to her what it was. And she says, oh, please, please, please do a treatment on the baby. So I said, all right, let's get it a little bit closer to the feeding. So I waited. I did a full body treatment on him, put the baby in her arms and handed her the bottle, and then turned around to put the blanket back on the isolette. By the time I turned back around again, the bottle was empty.
Wow.
Yes. I don't know who cried harder, mommy or me. It was quite amazing. But I've
Wow.
seen so many miracles with the Reiki. Yes.
Mhm.
I
So
also taught a lot of nurses in the hospitals how to do Reiki.
So I was just going to say, for those who don't know what Reiki is, just a brief description of what it is.
Sure. Reiki is an ancient Japanese healing technique used for stress reduction and relaxation. When your body is put into a deep state of relaxation, it heals itself. It's almost the same thing as when you meditate. When you're in a meditative state, your heart and your mind go into coherence, and that's when healing takes place. And Reiki does the same thing. It works with the energy centers in your body. The practitioner is only a channel. So the Reiki energy, to me, it's I describe it in the language that the client uses. So for me, if somebody believes in God, I say it's the pure love of God flowing through me into them. I've used the word for universal energy. I mean, all different types of descriptions for it, but essentially the pure love of God flowing through me into you, and that's what heals you.
Right. And you're not directing this energy, it's energy that's channeled through you to the client.
Exactly. Yes. I
Um,
can feel in the patient's body their energy centers when they're unbalanced or areas in their body that need balancing. And I'll send the Reiki there.
so I'm curious how the hospital uh, either recognized or saw your Reiki practice within, you know, a Western setting of healthcare.
Yes. It started mostly after I moved to Florida.
Mhm.
The hospitals there were a little more progressive in that field. So the head of nursing had me to start teaching some of the nursing managers and the higher up in nursing so they could experience it. Then I moved on to teaching some of the nurses that I worked with. I just before COVID, I was supposed to start teaching the operating room staff and the pre and post op staff because they wanted to have a program where the patients were receiving Reiki before and after because it truly decreases the amount of anxiety pre-op as well as the amount of pain patients have post-op.
Right. That's
But then
fantastic.
COVID hit and then that never happened.
Right. So speaking of which, can you talk a little bit about what you did during COVID and energy
Yes,
healing?
yes. I worked for Cleveland Clinic and they had a program called Code Lavender. They initiated it during COVID because the staff was so stressed out. So I received an email, anybody that was into holistic or alternative treatments to get in touch to join this team. So I was about one of the only nurses that applied. I have, of course, the Reiki. I work with essential oils, crystals, um, various other things, herbal remedies, all different kinds of things, mind, body, breath work.
Mhm.
So what we did was we developed two different carts. Everything was colored lavender. It was neat. I had to wear lavender scrubs when I would do this. And basically what we did was we went from unit to unit to unit, helping the staff deal with the stress of COVID. They were losing patients right and left. At the height of it, we were losing more than 10 patients a day. I know that seems small for like New York City or something, but for the small town that I lived in Florida, that was a lot of people.
Sure.
So these carts had one was all snacks and coffee and tea and juices and that kind of thing. The other cart, we had essential oils that were put into hand lotions. They were put into the little, do you remember the little Vicks inhalers? We
Sure.
put the oils in those. We had little minute meditations that people could do, little inspirational stones, little crystals that they could put in their pockets, all different kinds of things. Instructions we gave them on chair yoga. Your back was killing you from, you just didn't have time to take just different things that you could do
Right.
to help make your back feel better.
Right.
It got to the point during the height when we were in lockdown that some of the um, nurses would just burst into tears when they'd see me coming down the hall because they finally was like, oh my God, somebody that cares for me. Here I am pouring my heart out to all these patients and they're all dying and nobody's taking care of me, but they felt that I was helping them. I'd give them 2 minutes of
Wow.
Reiki and the difference it made was tremendous.
Mm, that's wonderful. So, do you see that kind of energy work being used elsewhere in other hospitals? Do you feel like it's becoming more mainstream?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, they're much more open now to like I said, they were just about to start doing it in the OR, and I think now that is becoming a reality.
Mm.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
do you mean just in that hospital, or do you feel like it
No,
has, okay,
multiple hospitals. Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah. They
something.
actually done research projects with Reiki in various hospitals all over the country.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So tell me how you integrate your nursing background with energy work, because I think it's such an awesome, relationship between the two, between your experience and now this energy work, which is kind of a new realm for a lot of people. How do you integrate the two to something where people can kind of understand it on a relatable kind of aspect,
Well,
or
when you think
relatable?
about the different systems in your body, you've got your circulatory system, your digestive system, your nervous system. You also have an energy system, and it consists of your aura, the different layers in your aura, as well as there's major energy centers in your body, and you also have minor ones all over your body. So when I teach Reiki, I teach the actual energy system. But I can go into it briefly with patients, and they like, oh, that sounds feasible. So it doesn't sound so foreign to them. The
Right.
other thing that I do is I say, you just have to experience it. So what I'll do is I'll put my hand on the front and back of their heart and just send them energy, and they're, ow, how are you doing that? They get quite amazed, but they can feel it actually relaxing.
Right.
So yeah, patients are very much open to it.
Right. So talk a little bit about your heart-centered healing business that you started. What does that look like?
Okay, so I'm taking the experience that I have from working through COVID with all of the holistic methods that I used, and I've taken it to the next level where I'm helping people out in the community that are stressed. And God knows everybody is stressed. They're just, even before COVID, people are working such long hours. They're so much jam packed into their life, and it's just very hard to deal with it. So when someone comes to see me, I sit and talk with them first, bring them into the office, and I find out what kind of stress that they have. I give them some tools for the immediate relief. Say that, they're in the middle of a situation, say they're taking care of an aging parent and they're very stressed. And I'll tell them, okay, tell me what your body feels like when you're stressed. And they think about it, and they're not taking deep breaths. Their shoulders come up to their ears. They're all tense and stressed. So I'm like, the first thing you need to do is sit back and take some deep breaths. Just that act alone will decrease the amount of stress hormones in the body.
Right.
Then I will explain to them the chemical happenings in the body when they become stressed. So when we have this system that was developed when we used to get chased by a tiger. Now we don't have the
Right.
tigers, but we've got the stress, the reactions in the body, and we're not completing the stress cycle. Before, if we ran away from the tiger, we got to the village, the other villagers were there, they'd be throwing spears, the tiger would take off, and everybody would jump up and down and dance. Everybody was protected from the tiger. Well, now we have nothing like that. We haven't completed the cycle. So I teach people how to complete the cycle. Then I will also offer them, I have herbal remedies, CBD products, and essential oils. So I show them all the different products, how they can help. I don't prescribe these things. I offer them to clients, and I let them pick and choose what they might feel that they might get some relief with. Then I will bring them into the healing room. They lie on my massage table, fully clothed and dressed. And I do Reiki with them. I charge different crystals to help to balance the energy systems in their body. I might put some essential oils on my hand and rub it on the bottoms of their feet, or have them put a drop in their hands and then just smell the oils. Within 2 minutes, that's in their bloodstream. So most people, after I'm done with them, I'm usually with them for about 2 hours. By the time they leave, they look like a different person
Right.
because they're much more relaxed.
Right.
Yes,
You're giving them tools that they can use after the session,
exactly.
learn how
Exactly.
to deal with the stress and anxiety and everything that comes with it. So that's so valuable. Um, are there things that you do on a daily routine or a practice that you do that you've incorporated into your lifestyle?
Yes, I use meditation, which is that's something else I teach my clients. I practice breath work now. I'm very aware of when I feel tense because I feel my shoulders come up and I'm not breathing deeply, and I will start do some breath work. Sometimes if it's real bad, I will come into my healing room and lay myself on the massage table, and I will start to do some mind body work and give myself a self Reiki treatment.
Awesome.
Yes.
So where can people find you? Do you have a website or email where people
Yes.
reach out to you?
My website is called heartcenteredrn.com. So it's CENTRTEREDRN.
Okay.
And my email is heartcenteredrn@gmail.com.
Okay. Are you working on any projects right now, or you got anything in motion for either the business or personal that's
Yes,
kind of
I am working with some women that we're getting ready to do another retreat. We did one back in March that was very successful. I also am in the progress of getting together to teach a Reiki 1 and 2 class. I will be teaching a Karuna Reiki class, which you can take that once you're a Reiki master. I teach Holy Fire Reiki.
Mhm.
And then I also am in the process of getting together a workshop that I'm going to do with Reiki masters that have taken the master level training, but have yet gotten the guts to be able to teach a class. So I
Ah,
want to teach them how to teach the Reiki.
right. That is
Yeah.
such a important I guess evolution, right? Is to become the teacher
Yes.
on the knowledge.
Yes. Yes. And once you get that first class under your belt, then you're like, oh, this isn't bad. But it's
Yeah.
getting that first class that's scary.
So
Yeah.
we've done a little workshop together. What are the retreats looking like? What are you hoping to do in these retreats?
Um, Bringing women and men together to help them with tools to relax. We have various people that, like yourself, that do sound healing. I've heard some exciting news about sound healing that they have actually recently found the frequency that blows apart cancer cells, and they're trying to magnify that. Can you imagine if that is allowed to be used? I
Oh yeah.
just pray that these corporations finally back off and let this stuff come up to the surface. Can you imagine going into a hospital where
Mhm.
you've got to have some surgery because the cancer is blocking an organ? But not only that, a shaman can come in and treat you beforehand. You have the surgery, you have Reiki healers and
Yep.
sound bath before and after. Oh my goodness, it would just be
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
Be
Sound
amazing.
frequencies are amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yes.
I did hear something on TED Talks a little while ago about it actually using the frequency to disrupt the cancer cells. So I don't know if that's
Mm-hmm.
the that you heard, but
Yes.
that was a little while ago. Yeah, whatever we can use that's non-invasive, doesn't add chemicals to the body, that disrupt
Mm-hmm.
the systems of the body, I'm all for it. And I think
Exactly.
most people, from what I gather, also working in the health field, people are looking for these alternative modalities. They're
Yes, they're tired of the side effects and the horrible effects that the medications have besides the costs.
Right.
If we could get cannabis back, that is such the most healing plant on the planet. Some states are letting it to come through, but there's still a lot of resistance in a lot of areas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Herbal remedies rather than the medications. There are places where the medications will help, but let the other stuff come in through too, you
Right.
know?
So is that, so if you had a model, a perfect model, and maybe there isn't a perfect model, but an ideal model for healthcare would incorporate all these things. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you think you would add?
Oh, of course, the meditation
I mean,
and yeah, teaching people yoga, how to keep their backs in line and keep their bodies nice and flexible. We've become a society where we sit in at the desk, we sit in the car, we're not up and moving. We
mhm,
need to get people back out into nature and enjoying the trees, and the nature itself is so healing.
exactly. And I love that you were saying that you taught the healthcare professionals about energy work so that they can experience it, because once they have the
Mhm.
experience and the knowledge, then they can spread the word. So it's not
Yeah.
just towards the clients, it's towards the other medical professionals that are
It's
healers.
my one of my most fun classes that I taught was when I was up in New York. I taught a bunch of different doctors. One was a neonatologist, one was an anesthesiologist, and I think the other one was a pharmacist.
Mhm.
And their reactions to it was just so much fun. They really, really opened up to it and were very into it.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to add or discuss before we close our session today?
If anybody knows of any businesses that are looking for help for their employees to help decrease their stress levels, I would love to come in and do some workshops. I don't work just one-on-one. I do various workshops for small groups, large groups, whatever is needed. So they can just contact me either through the email or my website.
Sure. Okay. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you spending time talking with me today and for the important work that you do. And I thank everyone for tuning in today. And if you're listening, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel and stay tuned for more. Again,
Thank
Carol.
you, Tracy. I
Yeah,
appreciate your inviting me here.
absolutely. And thank you so much for everything and for all the work you do. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right. Be well and bye for now.